Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Knot of the Week. My name is Shane Torrens. I'm the HSCQ Team Manager of Industrial Performance Services, and this week we're going to talk about the scaffold knot, the double overhand knot, and the double fisherman's bend. Okay, so the first knot that I'm going to show is the double overhand knot or the double simple knot. So similar to the simple knot, which we've shown in the last video that looked like this, the double simple is tied in the exact same method, except for there's just an extra turn in it. So you're going to grab the working end of the rope and you're going to take it and you're going to drape it over your finger. Remember, we always start from our finger and work back towards our hand. So we're going to wrap around once and then around twice. And our finger is telling us where to stick the rope. You'll take that and you'll stick it through and tighten it up. This is the double simple knot. Now again, you would not typically use this in this configuration because that excessive tightening of the rope would cause a kink at the knot and it'd cause the knot to break, or the rope to break at the knot, I should say. So actually how I'd use this is you're going to do the same way that I showed you how to tie a safety knot, but what we're going to do is we're going to take this back over itself, and now you're going to have the host rope and you're going to have the working end of the rope. You're going to take the working end of the rope and wrap over your finger and the host rope, just like this. So you're going to take the working end of the rope over your finger and the host rope. Remember to start at your finger and work your way back towards your hand. Come around a second time, pull your finger out, stick the working end of the rope where your finger was pointing, and it'll look just like this. Now, you'll want to dress the knot by pulling it tight this direction and pulling it tight this direction. You want to have about a fistful of tail. And then this knot will shorten up on itself like a constrictor knot. And when you're finished, you'll have what's called a scaffold knot. Okay, so something I want to show you is a caveat that's to the scaffold knot. This was actually brought to my attention a while back in a training class that I attended. I believe it was up in at CMC Rescue or someplace like that. So typically when you'll tie this knot, you'll take the working end and the host rope over your finger like this in order to tie it. But I didn't realize that this was, that big of an issue. But I guess it's possible for you to take this knot and tie it in the same method like this. And then if you didn't know what you were doing, you could flip it around and stick it back through like that. And then once it was tightened, you wouldn't be able to tell by looking at it that it was correct or not. So if you were to, take this knot and load it up, it would come undone because you tied it on the host rope side as opposed to the working end side. So that's just something to be aware of. You want to make sure that doesn't happen when you're tying the scaffold knot. So again, the proper way to tie the scaffold knot is to make a bite in the rope, flip the rope over, have the host rope and the working end go over your hand, start at your finger and work towards your hand, pull your finger out, stick the working end through, and pull it tight. And then when it's dressed, it'll look like that. And again, this is the proper way to tie the scaffold knot. Okay, so I also want to show you the benefit of the scaffold knot over another type of knot, which is very commonly used in rescues, such as the figure eight on a bite. So if you take a figure eight on a bite and you clip it into a carabiner, even if the gain is very small, you're not going to be able to keep it from, basically loosely floating around on the carabiner. So one of the benefits that the scaffold knot has over this is we can take that gain and actually choke it up on the carabiner. So let's say that this carabiner was attached to the victim that was, let's say, on a Stokes basket, and this was on the back side. It's possible for this knot to work its way around or to, inadvertently side load on the carabiner so that the tension would be pulled this direction. if for some reason the victim was to be shock loaded in some manner. So because of that, that's the preference, is all of this looseness, although it's a very useful and strong knot, this looseness and this gain on that carabiner, the scaffold knot's going to show a stronger use in that accord. Okay, so to tie the scaffold knot, again, you're going to start at your finger, put the host rope and the working end of the rope around your finger. You're going to tie it around twice. Stick the working end where your finger was through, and then you can shorten this up. Now, if you'll take the scaffold knot and clip it into a carabiner, now you can see that we have the availability to make that gain very tight as it chokes on the position of wherever we would put the knot. Okay, so another preferred methodology for using the scaffold knot is to tie into the becket of the double pulley. So again, what you would do is just work the working end of the rope, run it through the becket. Now that you have the rope bit, then you just tie your scaffold. Once you stick it through like this, now you can tighten it up. That way you don't have to worry about excessive rope up through the carabiner that's holding the pulley, because remember, you'd also have some kind of progress capture or something like that up there as well. So it just makes it much cleaner and gets it nice and out of the way. A lot of people worry about this excessive bend, this acute bend right here on the becket, but remember, like, let's say this is tied into a 4-on-1 mechanical advantage system. This is at the very end of the system, so there's actually a very, very small load actually being applied to this. In fact, it would be less than 25% of whatever the load capacity was if it was actually used on a 4-on-1. Okay, so here is the final application in this video of utilizing the double overhand knot. In this particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to tie what's called a double fisherman's bend. Now again, what you'll do is you'll take the working end of your rope, you're going to wrap it around, starting at your finger, working down towards your thumb. You're going to wrap it twice, pull your finger out, and stick that working end through just like this. Now what we want is we want this other rope to run through here, and we're going to have a mirror image of that on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the way that I prefer to tie it to ensure that there's symmetrical tension on both of these ropes. So what I'll do is I'll take my hand and I'll grab a hold of both ropes. I'll make sure that I have enough rope on the working end, and this is again just a way to tie two ropes together. And what you'll do is you're going to take the working end of one of the ropes and the working end of the other rope that's running the opposite direction in your palm, and you're going to grab it like this. You're going to take, in this particular case, I'm going to use the red rope first. You're going to start at your finger. You're going to wrap around your finger and that other rope. Okay, you're going to come down once, and then you're going to come down twice. Then you have to pull your finger out, and it's telling you where to stick the rope, and you'll stick it through. Now I'm going to show you a little trick. If you'll take your thumb and your index finger and grab a hold of the rope that you're working on, and you'll just let that other rope work smoothly in the palm of your hand. Take the thumb here and then start to push as you pull, and you'll notice that the knot is staying essentially in the same location, and I'm working all the excessive tail out of the rope. Now once I get it down to about where I think I have enough working end of the rope, then I can tighten it up on the other rope in the direction which would load, grab a hold of it and tighten it this direction and that direction. Now I have a double simple or a double overhand that's wrapped around both ropes. Now I could show you another method, but I'm just going to show you what I feel is the easiest way to do it. If you'll take this rope and flip it around in your hand, now what you'll do is you're going to replicate and do the same thing. So how I do it is I make sure that I have enough rope in my hand, and I start, make sure both ropes, including the working end of this rope, is now in your hand. You're going to wrap around your finger and that rope, and you're going to do it again. You'll pull your finger out, stick the working end through, and just like before, I'm just going to push that knot and roll that down to where it gets to about how much tail or working end left of that knot. Now whenever I go to pull it tight, I can dress it. I can grab a hold of both of these ropes, the opposite ends, and I can slide them together like this. Now you have a double fisherman's bend. I'm going to roll this over, and it's important that these two, this V right here and this protrusion right there, lock in together. That's how you know that that knot is actually tied correctly. And this is a double fisherman's bend. In the past, we used to tie what was called a double fisherman's bend, but we'd actually use two barrel knots as opposed to two double overhands, and the barrel knot looks identical to it, but you're just going to wrap down your finger one additional time. We have found that with testing, not only does it use excessive rope, but it's actually because of the amount of turns in the rope, it's actually weaker than the double fisherman's bend. So this is the preferred methodology for tying, prusik cord or 7 or 8 millimeter accessory cord together. This is not a real application in which you would tie these two ropes together, because for a rescue knot to be a rescue knot, it must be obviously identifiable, easy to tie, very strong, and easy to untie. And in this particular case, if you were to take two 1/2-inch static ropes, tie them together, and then put a load, whether it be a single person or a two-person load on it, this knot would not be very easy to untie. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to tie the double fisherman's bend, but in this particular case, this is a real actual rescue application in which we'd use it in. What we've got here is 8 millimeter accessory cord. It's tied to it's cut to a length in which would make prusik cords. And so what we're trying to do is make an endless sling. And in order to make an endless sling, that means a sling that has no ends to it. So we're basically going to tie it in a circle. At this point, we could use it for prusik cords, which could be used for self-rescue, as prusik bypasses, as opposing prusiks, as progress capture, a multitude of different avenues. But in order to do that, we have to get it in an endless sling configuration. So again, what you'll do is cross the two ropes over. You're going to take the host rope and the working end of the rope. At this point, you're going to start at your finger, working down towards your hand, wrap it around twice, pull your finger out, stick the working end through, and pull it tight. Again, following that same methodology, you want to have at least a knuckles width of tail on your prusiks. Flip the entire prusik over and do the exact same thing. Wrap it around once and twice, pull your finger out, it's telling you where to stick the working end of the rope. Get it nice and tight, then pull them together. Now you have a double fisherman's bend, which is using two opposing double overhands or double safety knots. And it gives us what's called an endless sling. As you can tell, this sling has no ends to it.